want to see arrests. I want to see perp walks. I want to see people in jail for stealing this election.
Arizona Republican Chair Kelli Ward should have been careful about what she asked for.
Hi, I'm Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays. Arizona's election was free and fair. The people of Arizona elected President Biden. Unwilling to accept this fact, the defendants charged by the state grand jury allegedly schemed to prevent the lawful transfer of the presidency. After the general election on November 3, 2020, the defendants and other unindicted co-conspirators raised false claims of widespread voter fraud in Arizona to pressure elections officials to change the outcome of a transparent, free, and fair democratic election. The defendant Republican presidential electors, allegedly plotting with additional defendants, then voted for Mr. Trump and Vice President Pence on December 14, 2020, falsely claiming to be the duly elected and qualified electors for President and Vice President of the United States from the state of Arizona. A state grand jury made up of everyday, regular Arizonans has now handed down felony indictments for all 11 Republican electors, as well as several others connected to this scheme. These charges include fraud, forgery, and conspiracy. These charges are Class 2, 4, and 5 felonies.
Potentially, one of those soon-to-be felons is that same Republican chair, Kelli Ward, who was eager to see perp walks in jail time. She just didn't know she'd see it from her own point of view, even though she and her co-conspirators recorded their fake elector scheme and posted it for everyone to see.
This is a certificate of the votes of the 2020 electors from Arizona. We, the undersigned, being the duly elected and qualified electors for the President and Vice President of the United States of America from the state of Arizona, do hereby certify the following. A, that we convened and organized in the city of Phoenix, county of Maricopa, state of Arizona at 12 noon on the 14th day of December 2020 to perform the duties enjoined upon us. B, that being so assembled and duly organized, we proceeded to vote by ballot and balloted first for president and then for vice president by distinct ballots. And C, that the following are two distinct lists, one of all the votes for president and the other of all the votes for vice president, so cast as aforesaid. For president, Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida, number of votes 11. For Vice President, Michael R. Pence of the state of Indiana, number of votes 11. Thank you.
Ward even wrote about how proud she was of their illegal scheme alongside a picture of them in the room where they plotted it. Oh yes, we did. We are the electors who represent the legal voters of Arizona. Trump 2020, MAGA. So now that the un-American traitors are set to go down for their crimes that they promoted, the state's Republican Party posted this. Today's indictments by Attorney General Chris Mays represent a blatant and unprecedented abuse of prosecutorial power, aimed solely at distracting the public from the critical policy debates our country should be focusing on as we approach the 2024 election. The timing of these charges, precisely 4 years after the 2020 election and as President Biden seeks re-election, is suspiciously convenient and politically motivated. This is not justice. It is pure election interference. The Arizona Republican Party condemns these actions in the strongest terms. They do nothing but undermine the trust in our state's legal processes and are clearly designed to silence dissent and weaponize the law against political opponents. We will not be deterred by this overreach. We will continue to stand for the principles of fairness and integrity that are the cornerstone of our republic. Oddly, no mention of how innocent the perpetrators are, just whining and complaining about the fact that their crimes are being adjudicated when more people are paying attention during election season. I guess they wanted the cases to be seen while Trump associate Christina Bobb detailed the delayed plan to overturn the election during the midterms that they were sure they'd win.
Joe Biden side cheated, so they could withdraw their electors or they could actually decide to award Trump electors, although I would anticipate they would probably just withdraw the electors. And if that happens from 3 different states, 3 different resolutions go into Congress, and I'm summarizing this.
Right.
It's a complicated issue, but it would have to go into the U.S. Congress to decide whether they want to accept the resolutions, whether they want to act on them or not. So it's a complex issue that needs to be handled complexly by different state legislatures and the U.S. Congress. It's a complex issue. I don't know that this Congress would take action on it. However, after 22, if we replace them, there might be. Who knows?
Like you said, it's never been done before, but that's why this primary coming up in November is so, the midterms rather, is so important.
Yeah. All these fake elector schemes, these reconfiguration of Congress hopes, and declarations of immunity are the new pillars of the Republican Party under Donald Trump. We hear more about their platform of corruption, lies, and criminal proceedings than we hear about how they plan on convincing Americans that they deserve to represent them and their interests. They've normalized being against America, as if those are the principles that people should be drawn towards. And sadly, it's all they've got. Aren't their voters tired of fighting for one guy to be above the law just because he's a loud and petulant criminal?
But the argument on immunity is very important. The president has to have immunity. This has nothing to do with me. This has to do with a president in the future, for 100 years from now. If you don't have immunity, you're not going to do anything. You're going to become a ceremonial president. You're just going to be doing nothing. You're not going to take any of the risks, both good and bad. I mean, you're going to make some great decisions and save the country, and you're going to make some decisions which are unfortunate, but that's the way it is. But you're not going to do anything if you don't have immunity, because otherwise you're going to be prosecuted after you leave office for doing something like going into an area, going into a country, doing lots of things that you wouldn't be doing. And we don't want a ceremonial president. We have to have a real president.